Hello and welcome. This is Michael Beach, and you are dialed into the What Are You Doing podcast. This is the show for thought leaders who are investing in the next generation of leadership for their organization. This is also the show for emerging leaders who want to become that next generation of great leaders. Together, we can develop leaders who will, in turn, develop more leaders and make a difference in this economy and in this world. All of us at Michael Beach Coaching and Consulting are excited to be able to bring you another podcast episode today. We're very fortunate to be able to continue to contribute to the success of forward-thinking, fast-growth companies. We're so grateful to be able to help them to develop and cultivate great leaders at all levels of their companies because our work is so rewarding and full of meaning. We're especially excited today to have the opportunity to introduce you to today's special guest, a great friend of mine and a gifted business leader, Jon Denney, the fractional president of a commercial cleaning business in Albany, New York, and the former president and CEO of the Professional Business Coaches Alliance. Jon has led an interesting life, and his experience is broad and unique. Goes all the way from being an officer in the military police corps during Operation Desert Storm to running a very successful printing business in Albany, New York, to acquiring and running the Professional Business Coaches Alliance. Jon, first of all, thank you for your service during Operation Desert Storm. I thank you for your commitment and for your service. It's a pleasure to have you here today, and I can't wait to hear what you've got in store for our listeners.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Jon, would you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and about what you're doing these days?
Yeah, happy to. I would characterize myself as an entrepreneur if I had to pick a word.
Okay.
I kind of fell into it, Mike. I didn't go to school for it. I went to school for criminal justice. I went in the military police corps. I was a corrections officer and then decided to get into sales and was good at it and realized that I loved business. And I had a great sales manager who was a mentor and really instilled in me that I could become a business owner myself. And when I say he was a sales manager, he owned the company and was the sales manager. So I was lucky to have a really great mentor in my very first professional sales job, and I loved it. I read every business book I could get my hands on, and then I started my first company. And he was one of the investors in that company, and it did very well. I wanted to expand it. He and the other investors did not want to, so they bought me out. I went and started another one. It was a printing business, Mike, and grew it into 4 different cities and then sold it to 2 of my key guys and then got into business coaching, loved it. So I bought the PBCA that trained me to become a business coach and then got back into coaching. And fast forward to today, one of my clients owns a very large commercial cleaning business and decided to ask me to help start a commercial cleaning business in Albany, New York, which we did years ago. And I've been, really running it again from the ground up. And it's a blast. I've been through all phases of business development, from startup to growth to expansion and diversification to selling the business. And, Mike, I did a lot right. And I also made every mistake you could imagine. So it's been, it hasn't been, all daisies. It's been some hard times. And man, I've learned some really great lessons. So it's been a fun journey. And I love business and love the fact that I'm here today with you, Mike, because I know you and I know your work with emerging leaders. And my passion is the development of emerging leaders. That's what I love most about being a business owner. So
that's cool.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here this morning.
Well, if we're going to be honest and accurate, we've got to also recognize that you are one heck of a coach and one heck of a trainer of coaches. I met you back in July of 2013. I had just left an organization and was thinking about opening up a coaching business. And so I was doing a search online and wow, I found the Professional Business Coaches Alliance and Jon Denney. And I called you and I remember that conversation like it was yesterday. Took maybe about 5 minutes. And I said, I've found it, man. This is the guy. This is the organization. And a few weeks later, I showed up at Syracuse, New York, where you certified business coach Kevin West and another fellow. And wow, what an unbelievable experience.
I remember that. And that other fellow was Clyde. Remember the pilot?
Yes, absolutely.
What a great class.
Absolutely. So, Jon, at what point in your life did you become interested in leadership? How did you get so passionate about developing leaders?
I don't know how I got passionate about it. I think I just discovered that I was. I really became interested in leadership intentionally when I was a cadet in the ROTC program. And I was going to college. I was a criminal justice major. I got into the ROTC program to help pay for college and realized, wow, they teach you the fundamentals of leadership, the principles of leadership, and more than that, all of the ways to work with leaders, leverage your leaders, work with your subordinates, leverage their knowledge, skills, abilities. And, I don't think there's any greater leadership development organization than the United States military. They invested a ton into my development as a leader to be an officer in the military police corps, but the leadership fundamentals are the same. So that's when I really found, I was passionate about it and I needed to be because that was our job. But I loved it right out of the gate.
Fantastic. Well, Jon, bear with me for a minute. I did a little bit of research. I found some quotes about you that I want to share with our listeners.
Oh, no.
And this will probably embarrass you a little bit, but bear with me. I think it's well worth it for our listeners to understand just what kind of a guy they're going to be listening to today. One of your peers said a few years ago, Jon is a leader among leaders. His vision is real, and it's happening now. Jon is transparent in sharing his learning opportunities, and he helps coaches to develop a great coaching business. Another one of your fans said, Jon is a great coach in his own right, and his passion for the work of coaching and for his clients comes through in everything he does as the president of the PBCA. That would be the Professional Business Coaches Alliance we talked about before. It says, Jon is not one to stand still. He continually strives to move the needle in a positive direction. Jon is the type of person you can count on, a man of high character who strives to do his best in all situations. So I shared that with you because that second quote was actually from me. And when I met you, my life changed in a very positive direction. And I just discovered an abundance of positivity and riches that came my way because I got to do what I really wanted to do for the rest of my career. And I'm forever in your debt for that. When I was in Syracuse for that week of certification training with you and Kevin and Clyde, we had an unbelievable experience. And there was one thing that I would go over in my hotel room at night, everything we covered that day. And one thing that you said every single day stuck with me. You said, guys, your clients expect you to be the coach. So for heaven's sake, be the coach. And I wrote that down in uppercase, bold blocked letters. And I have it on a Post-it note in my office back in Minneapolis.
Oh,
and
awesome.
When I'm coaching my clients, I think of Jon Denney almost every coaching session because the last thing I say to myself before the coaching session starts is, all right, Beach, be the coach. Thank you for that, my friend.
You're welcome. Thank you, Michael. That's flattering. Thank you.
So, Jon, I'm curious, did you have any leadership mentors along the way who made a big impression upon you or perhaps a big investment in you?
Yeah, I have. I've been fortunate with that. I mean, starting with my parents, who were great leaders by example, very principled people, very honest, hardworking, genuine, authentic people that owned it when they made a mistake. They never tried to pretend that they were perfect. And they were also great leaders because they always instilled in me and my brothers and sister that we could achieve anything that we put our hearts and minds to, and to never quit. And so I think that's awesome leadership. And then again, with the military, different commanders along the way that were fabulous. My ROTC cadre that, they're excellent. And then the business owner / sales manager I spoke of at the beginning was a great mentor of mine, and really made it possible for me to do what I've done and encouraged me to do it. So that's what comes to mind when you ask. And of course, as you go along your journey in life, you learn from people, you watch people. Mike, as much as I teach the people in my certification courses in the PBCA, I learn, your background at Dell Computer and what you've done in your life is remarkable. And to be able to learn from you, when I think of your leadership, for example, Mike, it's the abundance mentality of total generosity and service. You're a servant leader, and it's phenomenal. And I get to learn along the way. I've also had the opportunity to see bad leadership. And, and people that were, And so to learn, to be on the receiving end of that and to be an observer of it. So the people I mentioned are the heavyweights in my life, but I learn every single day just watching and experiencing life and leadership.
Well, and you and I are both blessed to be members of the Professional Business Coaches Alliance, and we get to hang around with some incredible leaders as a part of that group.
My goodness.
I'm thinking about, former Admiral Ed Allen and Rob Scheer, the author from San Francisco area, and Michael Anderson from Des Moines, Iowa, and, Jeff Rogers right up in your neck of the woods in Syracuse. Yeah. Some absolutely astonishing leaders that we get to rub elbows with many times throughout the year. What a fantastic opportunity to be able to learn from others.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jon, how many coaches would you guess you've trained during your years with the PBCA? Do you have any idea? It's got to be a number in the hundreds.
I would say probably 150. I think 150 is about right. Maybe a little bit more.
And I would imagine that almost every one of those folks has gone on to have some clients where they've probably made a difference in terms of helping them become better leaders. So your impact and your influence and your ripple effect, pretty sizable, my friend. Congratulations for that.
Oh, thank you.
Jon, can you tell our listeners about what you're doing to raise the level of your leadership game these days?
Sure, absolutely. As I mentioned a minute ago, I'm a student of leadership today. I surround myself with the right people, and we keep mentioning the PBCA, and I apologize to any of your listeners that aren't benefiting from that reference, but surround yourself with great leaders. Surround yourself with people that have achieved, great heights in their lives in whatever capacity. In the military, we've got former professional athletes that have become business coaches, rock star pastors, business owners, high-level executives from corporations. So I continue to do that, and I'm lucky because I found a forum for that. So anybody that is an emerging leader, I would encourage, find your tribe. Find your tribe.
Great advice.
And read books, be a student, read get a publication, whether it's Inc. or Harvard Business Review or whatever. Just read about it, immerse yourself in it, get the books, read the books. So that's what I do, Michael. I do what I've always done, which is I've got my tribes. I've got a couple tribes. I've got, some close friendships with people that, including you, that I find myself in situations where I get to really kind of say, what would Mike Beach do? What would Joe Delasega do? What would Ed Allen do? Or mutual friends of ours. So that's what it is. It's intentional leadership development. And I think that that's something that as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, that I've done right. I mentioned that I've made a lot of mistakes, and I have. But what I've done right is I've intentionally invested in my leadership teams because I realized that my company, my organization can only grow as much as they can handle. That's the infrastructure that growth is going to happen on. I also understand that without them, I don't own my business. My business owns me. I also understand to retain talent, it's not just enough to throw money at them. You have to invest in them and give them opportunities, raise the ceiling of the organization so they have room to grow. And that means a lot of times me being able to step aside a little bit to allow a vacuum that needs to be filled. And
absolutely.
Yeah. So that's a long answer to your question.
Well, a good one. I know, Jon, that you are a voracious reader and that you read all kinds of leadership development books and listen to them probably almost on a daily basis, I would imagine. Any particular book that really resonated with you that you think was really fantastic?
The first one I think of is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon. Okay. That was one of the earlier books I read. In fact, right on my bookshelf over there, I've got a 1934 edition, I believe it is.
Wow.
Somebody gave me.
Nice.
I think it's worth about $1,000 or something.
That's great.
Because I love it. And I've had a lot of my leaders read that book.
Sure.
But Winning by Jack and Susie Welch. I love that book because, talking about leadership, candor, differentiation, I just love that. You got the other classics like Good to Great by Collins. And even thinking about some friends of ours that have written books. If I want to read about sales management, it's Michael Anderson's Intentional Sales Management material. Working with the mid-sized companies and wanting to grow my company into being a mid-sized company, like a former company of mine. It's Rob Scher, Mighty Mid-Sized Companies.
Great book.
So those are a couple that come to mind, but really spend the next 5 hours talking about different books I've read that have been, all very substantial to me.
Well, we have that interest in common. I'm a bookworm myself. One of the books that I love, you can see a copy of it right here, is one that you wrote. It's a book called Unstuck. And it's got in it, listeners, 13 business strategies along with specific action steps that'll help a serious business owner earn more money, have more time, and significantly increase company value. I bought, dozens of these from you a few years ago, and I still have a few copies. I send these out to my small business owner leaders, and it just is a fantastic book. There's some amazing value in this thing. So listeners, if you want to get a great book, if you're thinking about starting a small business and you want to know how to do it right, get a copy of Jon Denney's Unstuck, and you'll never regret it. It's available on Tate Publishing, and about $15 or something like that, a copy.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Wow.
Well, Jon, our listeners are fortunate to have you here today, because if there's anybody that can give them a 60-second leadership lesson, I have to believe it was you. Do you have a 60-second leadership lesson that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I do. And you gave me the benefit of letting me know you were going to ask that. So I prepared for it. And it's going to be like drinking from a fire hose, because what I'm about to say in 60 seconds, and I might take 2 minutes, Mike, because you know me.
You take as much time as you want.
It's a lot. It's the essence, I believe, of your job as a leader. And what I would say is, whether you're a department head or a business owner, or, a high-level executive at a work group, or you've got a company division, it doesn't matter. The fundamentals are the same. And that's validated when you read books like Winning, written by the former chairman of General Electric Corporation, and you can relate it to your small business, which I did and do. Define the nature of your team, what it is you're building, who you are. Who are you as a company? Who are you as a team? Who are you? Describe yourself. And what are your values? What's important to you? Who are you? What do you do? How do you do it? What are the rules you play by? Which, by the way, is the essence of a corporate vision, mission, values statement, kind of like having that for your own team. Right. Whether, again, if it's a work group or a company. We all talk about we need to be on the same page. Well, That's the page. Make sure there is a page, because if you just use it as an expression, you're missing a huge opportunity. So that's step one, create the page. And then 2 is build a strong core leadership team around you. When you're hiring people, if you can find people smarter than you or have the more potential that they could become better than you, that's a blessing. That's who you want to hire. You want to find people that can add You don't want a bunch of people that need to be dependent on you and follow you. You want to build a team that can lead the way. That increases your value. And by the way, I know that some people have such insecurities that they would be threatened by that, when the exact opposite is true. If you find somebody that can be a strong leader, make sure you bring them on board, but also make sure that they're like-minded, that they buy into the vision, mission, values, that they fit. There's a click. They're going to embrace it, and they're going to fit in well with the team. Because, even if you have a superstar, but they're not playing by the rules, they got to go. So as you're bringing people on board, look for people that are hungry, authentic. Maybe they haven't arrived yet, but you just see an energy and a passion in them. And I look for that. There's some things that you can teach and other things you cannot teach.
Right.
The things you can teach, if they don't have that, don't worry about it. You can teach it. But what you can't teach is genuine enthusiasm, intrinsic motivation, loyalty, dedication, work ethic, servant leadership characteristics. Those intangibles, man, that's everything. That's what you want. Look for that. If I come across a person like that and I don't have a position for them, I hire them anyway, because they need to be on the team.
Right.
And that's my first boss, my first sales manager / owner gave me that advice, and I've always used it, and it's always been a good call.
Right.
So, have the page. Step one, define who you are and your values, build a strong leadership team around you. And then the third thing is grow your team with a focus on hiring and retaining people who share your vision. I kind of touched on that already, but it's also foster that. You get these guys on the team, but then you have to cater to the strong on your team. Don't cater to the weak, cater to the strong. If you've got a cancer in your team, you must remove it immediately, because you will frustrate everybody. You'll not only hold back your team, but you'll frustrate your superstars. It's not fair. And this is a delicate balance, because a strong leader cares about people, and a strong leader is compassionate. And that's important that you are that. And I'm not saying don't be that way. Absolutely do. But don't lose sight on the fact that you must also be compassionate to the people that are giving their heart and soul every day. And if you got somebody that's being a blocker and killing the culture, you got to do something about it. You have to make hard decisions.
I couldn't agree with you more. I run into that a lot when I get called by somebody and their business is struggling and they ask me to come in and help. I'll go in and start asking questions and start observing. And oftentimes the problem is no more complicated than they've got a cancer on the team. And for whatever reason, the leader of the company is fearful that the company won't be as robust with that person because they are doing something, right? Yeah. Maybe generating revenue or, keeping a big client or something like that. But boy, the trade-offs of keeping a cancer on the team, and you hit the nail on the head, Jon. If you don't deal with somebody who is destroying your culture, they're going to drive all of the high performers in the business out of the business over time, because those people are bringing their best to the effort every day, and they're wondering why the leader's not dealing with the cancer. And you just really owe it to your highest performers to run the business in a way where you're catering, as you said, to the strong and not catering to the weak or the diseased or the dysfunctional. Great leadership lesson. Thank you for that, Jon.
You bet. I got other things on that, just in my fire hose of what I wanted to really share.
Great.
And the other is involve your team in the planning. Don't do all the heavy lifting yourself as a leader. Don't think that your job is to have all the answers, and involve your team, because you're going to help them through the process of doing this. Not only are you validating them, because validation, the biggest form of validation is trusting that somebody can add, is capable. Get them in and involve them in, tell them what you're thinking, and just be honest about it. Guys, here's what I'm struggling with. This is, I got this is, what do you think? And put it out there and listen. You're doing a couple of things. Number one, you're getting more ideas on the table beyond your own, which means you can build your team to be bigger than just you, which is the essence of great leadership, I think. Highest level of leadership, John Maxwell, godfather of leadership, is building other leaders. It's not just having them read books and go to classes and getting them coaching, which is critically important. It's also involving them in the strategic thinking and planning. And then the last thing, number 5, is provide professional development opportunities. And those opportunities come from a professional development, a course, or maybe it's industry training. They're becoming a specialist within their industry. You're investing in teaching them, you're investing in coaching them, but you're also making sure that you're giving them more and more field to play on. And sometimes that means you need to expand your company, because if your company's not growing, there's now it's not infinite. Infinite growth no longer exists. There's a finite, there's a ceiling.
Right.
And you're going to get people that want to stay with you, but some people just want to bust through that ceiling. And as a leader, don't you want them to? So the way you can do that is bust through the ceiling. And that happens through growth, whether it's diversification, expansion, you moving out of the way more. And one of the reasons I became a business coach was because I own this printing business. And I said at a leadership team meeting to my exec team, guys, I don't know what to do with my time, because you're running the company and everything I know how to do, you know how to do. And I don't really know what to do. And I feel like I'm not valuable to the organization. One of the guys at the table, who now is one of the 2 owners, both of the now owners of that company were at that table. One of them said, why don't you become a business coach and help other business owners have that same problem? And I had never heard the term business coach, but I like the sound of it. I said, is that like consulting? He said, I don't know. So I researched it. I found the PDCA, and that's how I got it. That's what I wanted to really get out, because I think that if leaders can focus on those 5 fundamentals, it's going to really serve them well. And always lead by example. Be vulnerable with your team too. There's times where, if I'm going to blow off work because I want to go for a ride on my motorcycle in the mountains, I tell them I'm honest and I'm human.
Right.
And when I make mistakes, I admit it. And I share with them what I was thinking, why I made the decision. And sometimes I defer to them and I'll say, you know what, guys, I think we should do A, you think we should do B, and I'm going to trust you. Let's run with B. And when they were right, I celebrate it. And when they were wrong, I congratulate them for having the guts to try. That's what it's all about.
Fantastic. Well, listeners, that was a leadership clinic there, let me tell you. Some nuggets of gold have just been shared with you. So, Jon, one of the things that I work with a lot of my clients on is emotional intelligence. And I know that's not a primary focus in your coaching approach, but I know you value emotional intelligence. Let's talk about that for a second. Why is emotional intelligence so important to people in a business context?
Great question. Whenever I hear the expression, well, don't take it personally, it's just business, I laugh, because that's ridiculous. Business is very personal because it's people. When you're dealing with people, it's personal. Whether it's a customer, a coworker, a shareholder, it doesn't matter. A director on your board, it's always personal. Feelings are involved. And, look, it's a team sport. And so if you're not aware of how emotions impact an organization or how to deal with different behavioral styles, you're missing an incredible opportunity, because you'll alienate people. They won't know where you're coming from. That's how big misunderstandings come about. Even in this very divisive world of politics we live in, I think we all kind of want a lot of the same things. We just don't necessarily agree on how to get there.
Right.
And I think finding that common ground, understanding and respecting diversity of opinion, but really, knowing yourself and knowing others is such an important part of leadership. And that means knowing them as people, not as positions. Does that make sense?
Makes tremendous sense. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Jon, over the years, you have become quite a leader. And I'm curious whether you would reveal for our listeners the single best leadership development investment you ever made in yourself.
Oh, man, that's a tough one, because they've all added. Becoming a business coach was a big one, because it really helped me to learn how to communicate in a way where I was asking questions that were what we in the coaching world would call powerful questions, where instead of leading, instead of putting a solution in the question, have you tried this? What about this? What, and kind of leading, it's asking those expansive questions that are getting people to think on a more strategic level. It's being able to get people out of the whirlwind of the day to day and focus on strategic thinking. So at that point in my life, the PBCA was the best investment I made. But I go back before that, and I would say joining ROTC was the best investment I made, because that's when I really learned about leadership by example and integrity. Another thing I would say is I think some of the biggest lessons I've learned in my life are when I failed, and you learn some big lessons by failures, not just successes and not just learning the easy way, but really screwing up and paying dearly for it is a good way to learn. Couldn't agree with you more. I kind of come to believe that failures and mistakes are the price you pay to get smart. Every day we're getting smarter. Well, Jon, over the years, you've spent a lot of time and a lot of energy investing in yourself, and you've spent a lot of time in developing other leaders along the way. What's made you do that? What is it that's made you so passionate about investing in yourself and investing in others? Mike, I don't know. It's definitely part of who I am. As a kid, I was an athlete. I was competitive. And I was a wrestler. Was my best sport. And wrestling people, it's an individual sport. You're looking to get better. And a lot of my competition is more with myself. It's about being the best I can be. And, so I think that's just intrinsic of who I am. But it's not all that. Yes, absolutely. It is that it feels good. It's rewarding for me. And I'm just wired that way. But here's the other practical side of it. I've been blessed with making a lot of money and living a really good lifestyle of being able to come and go in my business whenever I want. Right now, I'm here with you, and I could take the rest of the day off if I want because my leadership team's got my back. And that's from a practical standpoint, and from a lifestyle standpoint, it's been very rewarding also. So that, that's more incentive. So it's the intrinsic desire to help other people and build a great organization and build a great culture. And that, that's my art, the business is my canvas. And I know that sounds a little hokey, but it's true. But in addition to that, I get to, it's kind of like the artist that gets to sell the masterpiece and pay the mortgage. It's a nice trade-off. So I just love it. And I couldn't imagine not wanting to continue to do that ever, because it is just so rewarding in so many ways. Even when I no longer need the money, like many of our friends that are professional business coaches, they do it because they love the development of people and they like to give back because somebody gave to them. So it's the altruistic. It's also it's everything else I just talked about as well. Well, I hope you have the health and the strength to do it for many, many years to come, because you're terrific at it, my friend. Thank you, Michael. Well, Jon, I want to say thank you. This has been a fantastic interview, and I know our listeners are going to consider themselves very fortunate to have spent a few moments with you today. That's our episode for today, leaders. I'm going to thank today's guest, Jon Denney, the man who taught me to be a business coach, the former CEO and president of the Professional Business Coaches Alliance. Thank you, Jon. Our interview today provided plenty of insights for our listeners, and they'll be able to implement those as they become better leaders, and perhaps one day, one or two of them might become a coach. That would be a nifty outcome. We really appreciate your contribution to our program, Jon, and to our listeners' ongoing success. Our next episode is going to be released soon, and we're excited to announce that our next show is going to feature yet another tremendous leader from the world of technology. I'll give you more details when we launch the podcast. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us today. And please reach out to us at info@michaelbeachcoach.com. If you have a terrific suggestion for a future episode guest, or perhaps you'll want to become a featured guest yourself. Either way, we'll look forward to our next episode and seeing you all again. Until then, remember, start working to become the person you've always wanted to become
by investing in yourself. And remember, it's just as important, perhaps even more important, to invest in the people around you. Believe in yourself and believe the best about everybody you work with, and things are going to turn out terrific. See you next time.